Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the stream. Hope everyone's doing well, or as well as can be. Just clickety-clacking quickly, getting all the settings set up. Alright, link shared in all the link sharing places. Good morning, Condaria, Anthony, Philip, Lord. Hope you're all doing well this morning. Oh, right. Right. The chat function's not working. Right, let's do a thing. Thank you for the kind words, Philip, and welcome to the stream. Morning, huge dinosaur. Shadow, hope you're doing well. That's all, folks. No, that's not. Just trying to get my combined chat working. Oh, didn't know it was your birthday, Postmatic. Happy birthday. Good morning, Lady Blackwind. Hope you're doing well. Just waiting for the combined chat on my end to work. There we go. Alrighty. Don't think I've missed anyone. Okay. There we go. Combined chat working. Booba juice. Always booba juice. It is currently the 9th for me. Still dealing with the migraine, but work has to continue. The algorithm waits for no one. At all. Ever. Okay. I think we're there. Saturday. Cool. Tomorrow. I'm probably working tomorrow, but I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow. Just need to catch up some of the recordings I missed yesterday. The life of a content creator is great. You're never allowed to take a vacation. Ever. Or a holiday. Or a sick day. Well, you're allowed to. But they frown upon it. Oh. Crickety crack, pippity pop, pippity pop. Alright, I think I'll move into the first story, shall we? Yep, see? As always, you're all free to chat amongst yourselves or ask me questions or whatever mayhaps. More chat equals more good. But on a complete side note, YouTube does seem to be responding a little bit to the longer videos, the 15-minute plus videos. So that's a bonus. Good morning, Lord Frostdraken. Hope you're doing well. Yes, so Saturday is my normal day off, but because I haven't been recording as much as I should have recorded this week, I get to not have a day off. So that's great. As you can see, this being Friday, we don't have much in the way of excess. We don't have anything for Billy Bob. We've got a week ahead on the series. Not even a week or 3 days ahead on that, and we're not even a day ahead on TFOS. So I need to catch up so that we don't run behind, so that we don't miss a video. Okay, I think I'm going to move into the first one. Yamashisha, good morning. No worries. Better late than never, as they say. Oh, no dogs, so I can move in a bit closer and sit a bit straighter. No, I won't be streaming tomorrow. I'll just do the recordings when I can. So tomorrow will be a day off from streaming, but not necessarily recording. It's raining subscriptions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the tier 1 sub, Postmatic. Very much appreciated. It's raining subscriptions. Thank you very much. Ooh, another one. A double, a twofer. Thank you very much, Postmatic. Very much appreciated with the 2 tier 1 gifted subs. No, the voice is doing okay. Has its good days, has its bad days. But it's more the body around the voice that's having the good days and bad days, rather than the voice itself. Alright, on to the first story. Greetings, ladies and metal gents, and welcome to this latest narration of the web. Nope. Greetings, ladies and metal gents. Let's move this a bit closer. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, levels look good. Fair enough, Postmatic, fair enough. Greetings, ladies and metal gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Humans Are Just Average, and that makes them dangerous. Written by Firefighter Raven. Ooh, that monster is fighting back. But I will be victorious in the end. Itan Azal listened to the slaver deliver his sales pitch before halting him by raising his hand. "Let me see what you have," he demanded. As always, slavers were extremely obsequious. Obsequious. As always, slavers were extremely obsequious when it came to dealing with Gokan nobles. The slaver bowed and replied, "As you wish, lord." Itan smirked at that response. He still wasn't used to being referred to as a lord. He only recently reached his age of maturity and finally inherited all his late sire's lands and property. His maternal grandsire had managed his lands after his sire died and raised Etan with all the skills a noble needed. Humanity wasn't one of those skills. He was often haughty to people he saw as below him. He saw non-Gokan to be especially inferior and expected difference. He saw non-Gokan to be especially inferior and expected deference from them. After all, he was a Gokan noble, and only the royal family were above him. Rank was meat and drink to the Gokans. Those that had it flaunted it, and those that didn't tried to obtain it. Etan's sire had attained his rank for his abilities and exceptional service to the king. Etan assumed that those each year. Pineapple pizza. I know this is controversial, but I don't like pineapple. I don't care whether it's on a pizza or not. Etan's sire. But if you like pineapple, put it on whatever you want. One of the best pizzas I ever had was a chocolate pizza. Felt very much like Scooby-Doo. Oh, what is it? Yeah, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy eating a chocolate pizza. Nom nom. It was calzone too. I'm sure as I ate it, several dozen cardiologists just dropped dead. But I don't care. I don't care. It was good. Demon Ninja, thank you for the kind words. What sort of decks do you build? And I'm glad that my content helps. Basically, you just take the base, no anything else. It's actually quite nice. It's like chocolate on bread, basically, unleavened bread. It's an exceptional service to the king. But my normal pizza is, what's it? Ham and cheese with bits of bacon. I'm a simple man. Bacon, cheese, we're good. Ham, It's awesome. For his abilities and exceptional service to the king. Etten assumed those same abilities had been passed down to him. After all, the gods put the nobles over everyone else. One of his first needs was to display his power by obtaining new slaves to work his lands. What good is a title if you can't... Ooh, bad monster. What good is slaves to work his lands? Not a problem, Lord. Not a problem. Stick around as long as you want. Hopefully I can entertain you with the live stream a bit. Yeah, well, I can't eat any spicy food. Because of the acid reflux. It doth protest. But yes, in South Africa back in the day, my favorite pizza was a Mexicana, which is mince and paired chilies on a pizza, basically. Okay. So decking. Sorry, my brain went somewhere else with decks. But that's awesome. Slaves to work his lands. One of his first needs was to display his power by obtaining new slaves to work his land. What good is a title if you can't flaunt it over others? So here he sat, unwilling to admit that he was in over his head, accompanied by his morsel steward and Ratriac bodyguards. He conferred with his steward about which slaves would be the most useful from the selection of the usual enslaved species. While his steward negotiated prices, Etten casually looked around, and that is when he saw another slave inside the ship. Its arms and legs were shackled, even if it was already locked in a cage. Etten couldn't see its waist because there was a hood over its head. He looked at the slaver. Why isn't that one being presented? Lord, the slaver replied. The hooded one in the ship, Etten said. Ah, you mean the human, the slaver answered. He's bound for the mines in the Dakari sector. Humans are too dangerous to serve in any other capacity, especially this one. I've never heard of a human before, Etten continued. Bring him forth. But Lord, the human is not worthy of... Now, Etten interrupted. The slaver bowed his head. It shall be done. He waved to a pair of his henchmen, who pulled the stun batons from their belts. One of them approached the cage, unlocked it, and opened the door. He pulled on the shackles to get the slave moving. One of them stayed out. Good morning, Dave W. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Or as wonderful as can be. Moving. One of them stayed just out of reach, its baton at the ready. It was slow going with the leg shackles, but they eventually had him standing before Etten. Remove his hood, as the slaver complied. It revealed the slave was also wearing a gag. Why is it gag? Does it have large fangs or something? Etten inquired. No, my lord. He's just really annoying and disrespectful, answers the slaver. Turning to his steward, have you heard of these humans before? No, my lord, the steward answered, before turning to address the slaver. Where are these humans from? What system? The steward demanded. KX-2489 systems in the Drathics. KX-2489 system in the Drathic sector. The humans call it Soul, the slaver began. It's not surprising that you've never seen one. They are low-tech and haven't even left their system yet. The Zerinkan have been known to capture individual humans for study or experimentation. Unsuitable specimens are sold into slavery or to the fighting pits. Etten sat up at the mention of fighting pits. He enjoyed them immensely and imagined himself to be a true connoisseur of the martial arts used in the pits. If he had a fighter of his own, that could bring him fame. How do they fare in their matches? Etten asked. If they are trained in some fashion, they are above average, the slaver continued. Their planet has a higher than average gravity, so they are stronger than most. The slaver pointed at Etten's Ratriac bodyguards. Humans aren't a match for them in strength, but they are stronger than all but the 2 Vasoth slaves at the end. But they are stronger than the 2 Vasoth slaves at the end. Humans are intelligent, especially for how primitive his people are, but they can't come close to the Morzal steward. Their endurance is somewhere in the middle of most pit fighters. All in all, humans are just average pit fighters, and that makes them especially dangerous, the slaver finished. Etten looked confused and asked, "What do you mean by that?" The slaver replied, "They don't rely solely on one ability, but on all of theirs at the same time." Good morning, Alphanoob. Hope you're doing well. And this one was one of their warriors when they caught him, so he is even more dangerous. Etten thought for a second before speaking. "I'll take him." Both he steward and the slaver looked at him with astonishment on their faces. "But my lord," the steward uttered. "It's not good," the slaver tried to reply. Etten gave both of them his most withering look. "I said, I'll take him." With no choice, they both acquiesced to his demand. "And I'll take all the rest as well," Etten replied. At this pronouncement, the slaver's attitude improved. Once the formalities of payment and transfer of ownership were done, the Ratriac led the slaves away. Once the formalities of payment and transfer of ownership were done, the Ratriac led the slaves away. The hood was replaced on the human, but his leg shackles were removed. Otherwise, it'd take all day to get him to the slave pens. The steward approached Etten. "My lord, is it wise to have someone that dangerous on the estate?" Etten chuckled. "He won't be on the estate for long. I'm going to send him to fight in the pits." The steward smiled at that. "Excellent idea, lord. I'll start making the arrangements to book him passage on the next ship out." Etten was smug as he followed up. "You heard the slaver. He's not as strong as my guards, nor can he outsmart you, and I'm more than clever enough to handle him." That's awesome, Alpha. It was in the middle of the night when a sound woke Etten up. He was annoyed to have his slumber disturbed. He wasn't sure what it was, but he thought there was a loud thump. He got up and threw on his robe, muttering to himself about punishment. Muttering to himself about the punishments the culprit would receive. Once he got to the door, he opened the slot and let to see. Once he got to the door, he opened the slot that let him see into the hallway without opening the door. He could barely make out the pair of Ratriac guards that flanked the door. "What was that noise?" he demanded, but neither guard answered. "Answer me!" But still no reply. Etten closed the slot and opened the door. "I said answer me, or I'll send you to the pits." He exited the room and turned to look at the guards. "Well, answer me." It was then Etten realized they'd never answer him. Both guards were gruesomely dead, with their throats slit and blood all over the walls and floor. It still dribbled down from the wound and down their chests to pool at their feet. In his shocked state, it took him a moment to wonder how they were still standing. That is, when he noticed the thin but strong wire wrapped around their necks. The wire cut deeply into their flesh, and Etten followed it up to the access hatch in the ceiling. His head whipped around as he looked for danger. Then he went back into his room, slammed the door, and locked it. He looked around for his sidearm, but it was too dark. He flipped the switch for the light, and that was when he saw the steward's head. It was impaled on one of the bedposts. He started back towards the door when he came up against something solid. He felt another being's breath on his neck, and a hand pulling his head back. "You should have listened to the slaver," spoke. "You should have listened to the slaver," was spoken into his ear, before he felt a sharp line for fire. "You should have listened to the slaver," was spoken into his ear, before he felt a sharp line of fire across his neck, and he struggled to breathe. And then he slipped into darkness. End of story. Cheers, huge dinosaur. Hope you have a good one. And good luck. Working is always the best. I will try my best. But thank you, huge dinosaur. Well, it wasn't super short. It was just shy of 10 minutes. Super short is like 3 minutes. And there are plenty of them. No, that's fair, Dave. That is fair. If you're not working not by choice, it sucks. Uh, 27562. Through 2 dash. What are they made of? Question mark. Dun, dun, dun. Who knows? Who knows? Fair enough, Lord, fair enough. Unfortunately, the long ones just mess with my schedule, so I don't get to them too often. I'm not sure, Alpha. I think Twitch, but I honestly don't know. YouTube takes 30%. So if you know how much Twitch takes, because I'm only what am I? I'm not a partner. I'm a associate, whatever the first tier is. I have no idea what I get. I suppose I can look this up because it's the second time I've been asked. What is my cut from Twitch? Go away. No. Reject all. Bug off. Cookies. Okay. Alright, so Twitch takes 50%. Which means that YouTube actually takes less. Huh. Interesting. The more you know. Yeah. I think on Twitch, once you've got like a couple hundred viewers at a time, you start to come into your own there. And you can start earning money off of sponsorships. And that means you can kind of break even. But yeah. Didn't expect it to be that much. Although if I was a full partner, I would get 70%. So they would take 30%. Yes, yes. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I think that is 50% on everything. That's advertising and on subs for Twitch. But once you get to partner, that changes. And then once you get to like the top tier, you're negotiating individual contracts. I'm glad, Lord. I'm glad. Tax. I still got to pay tax on top of that. But yeah, it sucks. Fair enough, Yamashisha. Fair enough. You can send me Bitcoin. All anonymous, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah. It's a joke. Unless you want to send me Bitcoin, then it's not a joke. Fair enough. All good, all good. I understand not wanting to give your banking details to any more. Ethereum? Oh, I'll take any cryptocurrency. I'm not picky. I don't have any. No, I think I've got some Ethereum somewhere. I bought a little bit a while back. But I'm not a huge crypto person. Not because I don't understand it, but probably because I do understand it. To a degree. Okay, on to story.
Biddies as far as the eye can see.
Ooh, some biddies. 100 biddies. Thank you, Postmatic. Very much appreciated. Being very generous on your birthday. Feeling kind of bad about that. I'm not going to sing happy birthday, though. No matter how much money... Well, yeah, I'm not going to say. Fair enough, Shadow, fair enough. In South Africa, there's so many regulations around it that it's not really worth buying. That's true, he is always generous. Story number 2. What are they made of? Written by Ivan Ko Kotsuk. Ivan Ko Kostyuk. Okay? What are they made of? What are they made of? Written by Ivan Ko Kostyuk. I had met more humans than most of our kind. Being part of the consulate on a human colony has certain perks in this regard. I was only an attendant for Princess Icon, not a diplomat, but I had found the humans possessed many admirable qualities, especially curiosity and daring. But they are short and slim, and I thought little of their ability to fight us. which was fine, as they were more interested in trade and other things. The questions their members asked about our royalty during the king's funeral was that sort of well-meaning rudeness that I have found so often happens in interspecies dialogue. Yes, we have a king. Yes, the new one will be decided by combat between champions of the royal family. No, the king has no formal authority. No, that does not mean that they are purely ceremonial. They are still an important symbol among our people. They are still the spiritual leader, and they have a lifetime appointment, so their counsel is often sought by politicians. So their counsel is often sought by politicians. One, who I had found had become closer than appropriate to the princess icon, while she had been posted on this world, was One, I had found had become closer to... One, who I had... One, who I'd found had become closer to One, who I'd found had become closer than appropriate to Princess Icon, while she had been posted on his world, asked, "Does it have to be your kind as champion?" The princess had been shunted off our homeworld as soon as she finished her studies. Her father had already decided her older brother, Prince Maggie, would shoot her. Maggie. Her father had already decided her older brother, Prince Mikey, should be his successor, and had insisted the prince serve in the military to give him plenty of connections. All of the other children were sent away, especially to worlds with inhabitants we thought little of militarily. Could this human be her champion? Yes, I answered. But one strike from a princess champion would likely kill a human, so he should reconsider. But they are a daring species, these humans. The prince was aware of the stories about the humans. One does not send millions of their own soldiers to a war they have nothing to do with, and demand nothing for it without gaining reputation. How much Prince Maggie thought the human champion was an actual threat, I could not say. But he did not want the challenge to go through. It took our Prime Minister, all but threatening to abolish the monarchy, to get the prince to agree. It was unseemly, I understand, to be seen as refusing a challenge. I watched the warm-up matches with Princess Icon from her box. Two professional fighters made their tributes and had a fierce and bloody match that managed to go 17 seconds before one was incapacitated. I asked the princess if she knew what her champion's strategy was. She smiled and asked how much I knew of humanity's history and culture. I confessed my ignorance, as she was much more interested in the matters than I. They are persistence hunters, she explained. They evolved to chase animals for miles and miles, over hours and hours, until the animals simply died of exhaustion. We, however, evolved from ambush predators that relied on camouflage and traps before using overwhelming power to kill our prey. The human strategy, she explained, is almost always endure. The human quarter had been established in the capital as a trickle of merchant-built... The human quarter had been established in the capital as a trickle of merchant-built businesses to buy our goods and sell their wares. As far as I could tell, they were all in attendance. We are not much for drawing attention to ourselves before a fight. The notion of entrance music was a surprise to us, but the humans knew what to expect. An ancient hymn from their world, a song of love and loss, and a call for the endurance to stay. And a call for the endurance to stay the course from distraction. I learned the poets who created it were called Nickelback. We watched as the human champion danced his way into the ring, while the human spectators sang with the song. The champion climbed onto the The champion climbed onto the wall dividing the ring and pumped his fists while he sang, and the humans touched him, desperate to give him their sacred manna. The fight instead lost. The fight lasted an unbelievable amount of time, at nearly 12 minutes, and the human darted around the ring.
Behind you. Someone's following.
Oh, thank you very much for the follow. It's very much appreciated. Where are we? Metroid fan. Their writing on their screen is a little too small. But thank you for the follow. At nearly 12 minutes. At nearly 12 minutes. At nearly 12 minutes. The human darted around the ring in the first seconds, in desperation to avoid being hit. But then he did something I did not expect. He smiled. Princess Icon took the time to match... Princess Icon took the time of the match to expand upon the human strategy of endure. The human team sports all last more than an hour, a time so long I found it difficult to believe. What I found impossible to believe is that the pinnacle of human sporting is a marathon race, which she told me was 42 kilometers, and that even elite humans take almost 2 hours to accomplish this. What I found... I think that's not right. Yes. This is not taking into account ultramarathons. I still don't think that's right. That is running at 21 kilometers an hour. I think that's impossible. Is that right? Anyway. Almost 2 hours, but it's still... Who am I to fact check? This. What I found impossible is that this is done to commemorate a human who ran 490 kilometers over a day and a half. Humans who wish to protest some justice. Humans who wish to protest some injustice often do such through feats of endurance, standing for hours or days outside their government buildings, or the homes of the people they think they have done wrong, and on most all the homes or days outside their government buildings. All the homes of the people they think have done wrong are the most basic. They refuse to eat until their demands are heard. They take great walks from their home. They take great walks from their homes to the seats of their government and refuse to leave. They prop themselves up in flagpoles for a year. At least one of their tribes, before the human unification, became independent partly through groups of acts of endurance. Human history is full of people who accomplish great things almost entirely by refusing to give up, often through injury and unbelievable odds. The first humans to fly only did so after countless hours of trial and error. The humans too small to play a sport called gridiron. The humans too small to play a sport called gridiron competed essentially by refusing to stop trying. Human artists who fail time and again before accomplishing great things are too numerous to count and impossible to choose just one. These people are treated as saints or gods. Human philosophers about life are full of affirmations that what matters is how hardship is endured. Put in the work, show up, no pain, no gain, don't back down, don't quit, don't give up. They are so different from us, I thought to myself. What are they made of? The champion, sure to be a living saint, spent almost 12 minutes fighting a man half again his height and more than 3 times his weight. And he did not just try to not be struck. He pushed the other fighter. When the prince's champion tried to retreat and breathe, the human chased him, taunted him, insulted him, pointed to places on his face he wished the other fighter to try and hit him. The prince's champion had no time to breathe, no time to run, no option but attack. And each attack exhausted him. The princess will be a fine king. Hopefully, her counsel will mean closer relations. The The princess will be a fine king. Hopefully, the princess will be a fine king. Hopefully, her counsel will mean closer relations with a race so ingrained in philosophy of glory from. The princess will be a fine king. Hopefully, her counsel will mean closer relations with a race so ingrained in a philosophy of glory from surmounting difficulty. End of story. Interesting. I didn't think it was that fast. Thought it was closer to 3 hours.
The prime number has just increased by 1.
Well, thank you for the prime. Very much appreciated. Not a problem, Lord, not a problem. Go get some sleep, rest. Have a nice one. My pleasure, Lord. Thank you for the kind words. I hope you have a good one. All right, on to the next story. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Human Recreation. Or Recreation. This particular story is called Human Recreation, written by Commander Shadowstalker. Public log. Z. Vedden, Biological Observer, GST 2252550. Most people don't visit 9. Is that 9 or is that X? X? X. No, because then the X would be small, so it is 9. Logical Observer. Most people don't visit 9. The vulture lost our homeworlds 400 years ago, and even now the biosphere is barely stable. Too high Too high atmospheric nitrogen, too much carbon dioxide to be healthy for most galactic species, not to mention the fears of lingering radiation hotspots. Even members of my own species, the Chiral, hardly ever come home for more than Remembrance Day. Since this is a public-facing log, and the Chiral vulture conflict was untimely. Since this is a public log, since this is a public-facing log, and the Chiral vulture war. Since this is a public-facing log, and the Chiral vulture conflict was ultimately a footnote in galactic history, here are the highlights. 400 years ago, the Chiral and Vulcan hegemony were at war. I don't actually remember why. Maybe they didn't like the Chiral having translucent wings. A Chiral cruiser found its way into a Terran home system after a blind FTL jump. No one was actually prepared for first contact, and then the Vulture followed them in. The Terrans didn't take too kindly to someone shooting at their guests, and returned fire. This diverted the Vulture war effort, offering my people a chance to rebuild some. The Vulture did not like this and sent a task fleet and glassed 3 planets in the Chi Prime system, including my home planet, 9. I think it's X, not 9. X is better sounding anyway. Even now, the biosphere is barely stable. Public log, Z Vedden Biological Observer, GSD 2252550. Most people don't visit 9. Most people don't visit X. 9. Most people don't visit X. 9. Most people don't visit X. Most people don't visit X. Most people don't visit X. Most people. Most X. The Vulture. Including my home planet. Including my home planet X. The Terrans took exception to that, and in the span of 3 months amassed more atomics than even the Gone Confederacy has ever built, and sued for peace with the Volca. The Volca believed it to be a bluff, and the Terrans cracked 3 Volca military planetoids in their home system under sustained atomic bombardment. The Volca took the hint and capitulated when peace terms were offered a second time by the Terrans. Why do I bring this up this close to Remembrance Day? Today, I met a Terran for the first time. It was strange. While most members of the galactic community consider them to be a pest and overall rude, this one was not. Even among my people, some might say they have a bit of a hero complex. This one didn't seem to. He called himself Strelok, though I believe that was an assumed identity as he paused a minute before speaking it. He wanted to know more about X from a native stating that there is only so much to be learned from the Gullnet Travel Advisory. Seeing as I'm one of the few people planetside actually monitoring the biodiversity, my name was recommended when he traveled through customs and asked for some relevant information about the planetside conditions. I told him about most of the creatures outside of the security cordon were wild and genuine. I told him about most of the creatures outside the security cordon were wild and quite dangerous. He seemed happy at the news. After a few more questions, he asked me where to rent a speed and whether I knew of any good camping spots. It took some time for an explanation on that. Apparently, he's going to sleep outside the outpost in something called a tent. Is this the something humans do for fun? I suggested that he request a neutron stun rifle from the perimeter security. He was after all going to be outside the outpost for an extended time, and nightfall was too dangerous, even for a native to be outside. He thanked me and said that a stun rifle would be unfair, as he He thanked me and said that a stun rifle would be unfair, and he thanked me and said that a stun rifle would be unfair, and as he put it, if I get my head gnawed off, it's my own damned fault. I doubt he'll make it through the night. Too many predators. Public lock Z. Public log Vi Vanden. Public log Zy Vanden, Biological Observer, GST 2272550. This is probably going to be the most I've written in my personal log in years, at least in one entry. Since my last entry, I gleaned Galnet for information about camping in Terran culture. It is very similar to the old ways many species. It is very similar to the old ways many species used to live prior to industrialization, and even prior to agrarian society. Most species don't partake in this ritual of sort and consider it barbaric and uncivilized. Humans, however, camp as a way of reconnecting with nature. Generally speaking, camping by humans is done with an auto shelter and a few creature comforts, making the accommodations quaint when compared to their homes. But I had also stumbled on a few out-of-the-way net forums dedicated to more hardcore camping, where it seems not only humans, but others as well, take part in this sport. The equipment used for this is no more than a rough-spun synthetic fabric shelter that has to be manually constructed, and insulation bag for sleeping, and various simple cooking utensils, like stoves that use pressurized hydrocarbon fuels to generate heat. Admittedly, I kept going down this Admittedly, I kept going down this clickhole and found even other, more extreme forms of camping that use only a controlled fire for cooking, and even less equipment than that. Strelok falls into this latter category. I went out to try and make sure that he died. I went out to try and make sure if he died, his next of kin would be informed. When I found him, he was neither dead nor using a tent for shelter. In fact, it was an overgrown pre-war structure that had survived the war and subsequent 400 years of plant growth. He had a small fire burning in some kind of old cabinet and was, as he put it, quite comfortable. I suspect wherever this Terran is from, his home may in fact be much like the woods outside the outpost. I almost didn't recognize him. Gone was the plain grey flight suit, and instead he wore a clad in a mix of surplus equipment. Gone was the plain grey fight suits, and instead he was clad in a mix of surplus equipment from many combat zones across the galaxy. Plain earthy green BDUs similar to those I'd seen in the museum that the Terran troops used while aiding the Cairo against the Volca. From the knee down, he wore ceramic titanium armor that looked to be well worn and repurposed legios. That looked to be well worn and repurposed Legos Bloodguard gauntlets. The weapon he had with him looked positively ancient, steel and wood construction. It used individual cartridges with a chemical charge to propel solid metal at high speed. He claimed that he'd built it out of a shovel, no less, but it looks so old and worn I suspect it's really an antique. I asked how he managed to keep safe. I asked how he managed to keep from being eaten, and he said that he marked his territory. And that makes no sense. Even the apex predators of Ix should shy away from unknown factors, much less an off-world omnivore. I asked what he intends while here. His response was that he wants to explore and meet the local wildlife and possibly practice his survival skills of trapping and hunting. I told him he was insane. I've studied the wildlife around this outpost for 10 standard years. Another predator would certainly kill him if he tried to hunt in its territory. He laughed. He actually laughed and asked if I've actually studied things up close rather than behind a drone controller. No. Why would I? That's crazy, reckless, and dangerous. Not since Academy, at least when I was tricked by one of my seniors to take a direct plant samples. No one's done that since before we mastered our planet's ecology and began the march into space. He laughed again and said that I wouldn't understand why he was out there, as I was, but if I wanted to, he had a tale for me. And he spoke of a Terran named Steve. Not a story, a legend. According to Sturlock, Steve was a Terran that lived during the late 20th century, and had an absolute indomitable passion for understanding and quantifying life and protecting it. He would wrestle with creatures called alligators, and play with reptiles like snakes, all while helping capture and relocate animals to protect them from other Terrans that wanted to kill them for various reasons. Some wanted to meat, others the skin, still even others just for sport or because he was a nuisance. It didn't matter where on the Terran world these creatures resided. He would actively seek them out and try to understand what made them tick. And he primarily resided on one of the most dangerous continents on the planet. Not because of war or strife, but merely the animals that lived there were so dangerous and so extreme that even some biologists still have trouble making sense of their evolutionary paths to this day. I thanked him for the tale and declined the offer to stay before returning to my speeder. It's not safe out there. He asked me to bring a bottle of alcohol to share for another story if I wanted it. I didn't follow the logic then, and even though I'm watching documentaries about Steve and even though I'm watching documentaries, and even though I am watching documentaries about Steve and made by him, it still doesn't make sense. Public log Z Vedon, Biological Observer, GST 3012550. I have spent the last 4 solar cycle. I've spent the last 4 solar days viewing Terran records of Steve Irwin. I cannot be certain if these actually happened or if they are a dramatization. A peachy skin-toned Terran male in tan shorts and a shirt with a stick in one hand and an ancient in one hand. A peachy skin-toned Terran male in tan shorts and a shirt with a stick in one hand and an accent that takes the Terran words "good day, mate" and turns it into "g'day, mate." And he just picks up creatures with a stick nonchalantly and says, "This is the most dangerous critter on the continent. Its venom can stop your heart in a matter of seconds." Then he just plays with it before letting it loose to go wrestle a creature that looks like a Gorn that was flattened by a ship, only to tape its jaw shut in order to safely remove it from the Terran village, where it had begun to eat small avian creatures. That is what Steve did. I'm terrified and in some small way inspired. This might be the lack of sleep, or perhaps the Centauri gin I tried to calm my nerves after seeing the, horrifying level of violence that a hippo can muster. But I may take Strelok up on his offer of camping before he leaves. I'm, giddy, as though I was back at the academy. I haven't been this interested in something since I was a young girl, getting to see the home world for the first time. This may be my last log. Public log Zai Vadan, Biological Observer, GST 37250. Camping is fun, and it is strangely relaxing. Despite running away from predatory creatures and sitting around a fire, playing cards and guitar, learning to play in my case, I've never actually seen my homeworld up close like this. Over the last 6 days, I've been bit by bugs, chased by wargs, dire wolves, as Sturlock called them, stalked by Elan, which Sturlock insists has to be a cousin of the Terran deer, somehow, and delved into ancient ruins to look for lost documents and artifacts. I still don't know if this is what camping is about, but I feel like I've connected to a bit of myself that I've forgotten about. I know my colleagues would find this unorthodox and even a little heretical, but I feel that I've been a bit too clinical with our studies, and not physically going out into the field and leaving everything to drones and probes is wrong, for a better word. Strelok and I swapped stories long into the night. Mine were far less interesting, but he listened closely, and well, some of his stories. These things called Wendigos, even if there's no proof they ever existed, the mere concept is unnerving. Public log Xi Vidon, Biological Observer GST 392550. Yesterday, tragedy struck. Not for myself, but for Strelok, though he seems to be taking it far heavier than I am. When we were hiking through a set of unmapped ruins after collecting a small treasure trove of ancient data shards, we came upon the sight of a fight between a warg and a male Elan. The Elan was possibly the largest I'd ever seen, but it was dead, and the warg itself had taken a severe beating. Sherlock drew his rifle as a precaution, but the warg just let out a whining growl and started limping away. While I stood guard in case it was an ambush, I surveyed the scene and recorded what had transpired. Up until now, there's been no record of an Olan actually fighting against a warg. There's been no record of an Elan fighting. There's been no record of an Elan actually fighting against a warg. At least not in the Department of Ixian Biology survey records. From Sturlock's perch in a tree, he called for my attention before shimmying down and mentioning there was something I should see. A short hike through the field of ruins later, and we found the warg. It turned out to be a female, and we watched her breathe her last as it lay there, desperately trying to crawl into a half-excavated building. Inside, we could hear the whining of young warglings. I didn't understand what Strelok said. It was in Terran dialect, but it sounded sorrowful, all like an apology. We've established a camp in some trees to several... I didn't understand what Strelok said. It was inside, desperately trying to crawl into a short hike through the... From Strelok's perch in a tree, he called for my attention before shimmying down. There's been no record of Elan actually fighting against a warg. At least not in the Department of Ixian Biology survey. At least not in the Department of Ixian Biological survey records. At least not. At least not. At least not in the Department of Ixian Biological survey records. At least not in the Department of Ixian Biological survey records. From Strelok's... There we go, corrected. Give me a moment. There we go. Boomy juice. But it sounded sorrowful, all like an apology. We've established a camp in some trees to several kilometers from the den and have a stealth drone camouflage close to the den site to observe. Hopefully the mother warg's packmates will take in the pups. Public log Z Vidon, Biological Observer GST 3102550. We spent the entire day watching the biomonitor. The warg pups are starting to starve, and we haven't seen any indication that there are other packmates. The warg pups are starting to starve, and we haven't seen any indication there's even another pack. The warg pups are starting to starve, and we haven't seen any indication there's any other pack members to adopt the wargs. Truthfully, Dibs doesn't have a lot of data on the behavior of wargs during their denning cycles. This could be normal. Public log Zyvadon, Biological Observer, GSD 3112550. Strelok went and collected the pups from the den. This goes against every code and regulation I know of for biological studies. Officially, I have to admonish him, but it feels like the right thing to do. They haven't even opened their eyes. They're so young and small and floofy, as Strelok explained. He said he works with a foundation on his homeworld that works with creatures similar to wargs, and after a quick genetic analysis, was able to determine what kind of nutrients would work for them. It's going to take no small amount of paperwork to clear them for off-world travel. I can tell he's excited, though. He has a gleam in his eye when he talks about the cross-fostering. He has a gleam in his eye when he talks about cross-fostering and how the genetics seem to match up enough based on his scan that they may be able to hybridize with Terran wolves. And after the excitement of the last week or so, I'm interested in seeing the results of this project. Public log Zyvadon, Biological Sciences Overseer, Ixian Unorthodox Methodology Unit, GSD 10-9-2563. It's been close to a year since I last heard directly from Strelok. According to the technician at the wolf cage, the Wolf Breeding and Pack Introduction Foundation he's involved with, he's been long-term on a project near the Terminus system in an attempt to preserve some of the biological diversity before the growing war there engulfs all the habitable planets. I can't say I'm surprised. In the last 13 years I've known him, he's dropped off the grid, as humans would say, and at the drop of a hat, no less than 7 times. Each time returning just as suddenly to regale me with tales of ice worms and crystalline spiders that shimmer under the light of UV stars. That's how I found out he can see slightly into the UV spectrum and see my wings, which explains the gawking when we first met. Honestly, I've actually been rather busy myself since my promotion. The leadership of the department finally relented and gave me funding and a sub-department to actually directly study the flora and fauna of our world, hence my new title. I think the drone's eye view of me wrestling with a warg that had woken up from a stun. I think the drone's eye view of me wrestling a warg that had woken up from a stunner blast while I was securing a tracking collar helped my case. I heard it went viral on the GNet. I don't know. I think the department heads were just terrified I might I think the department heads were just terrified I might lead a pack of them directly into their offices. Regardless, lots of paperwork and undergrads to pick through. Regardless, lots of paperwork and undergrads to pick through for field teams. There's a pile of undesirables from the Galactic Academy that I've already earmarked for interviews. Humans mostly, but a couple of chiral that seem to be a bit more hands-on for their studies than most academics. But a couple of chiral that seem a bit more hands-on for their studies than most academies. But a couple of chiral that seem a bit more hands-on for their Boomer juice. But a couple of chiral that seem a bit more hands-on for their studies than most academics seem to like. Additionally, I received a crate today. The courier that delivered it had the thickest Terran accent I could ever get. Additionally, I received a crate today. The courier that delivered it had the thickest Terran accent I've ever heard, and reeked of ancient degreaser. At least, that's what I think it was. Honestly, I've never heard of the company before. Ivanov's Galactic Express. The uniform was olive drab with a floppy, fuzzy-looking hat, with flaps down over his ears. You are the Vadanda. You are the Vadanda. he said, and repeated several times before I could understand that he was speaking Galactic Common. I affirmed, and he handed me a datapad before bringing in a large wooden crate with air holes in the sides. I wasn't expecting a delivery, and the shipping information didn't indicate where in the galaxy it had come from. Delivery from one Strolokov to biological overseer Zivadim. Cube, bless your day. Cube, bless your day, he explained before leaving after I handed the datapad back. Taped to the crate was a bundle of paper. Yes, taped paper. Archaic. But I'm used to it, and it actually works really well in the field. The text reads as follows. Heard you might be receiving a promotion and have a field operation going soon, so I figured that you might want someone to protect you since you... So I figured you might want somebody to protect you. So I figured you might want someone to protect you since you'll probably be fledged... The wolf... So I figured that you might want someone to protect you, since you'll probably be field-going more than before. I hope. Don't let them tie you down and make you drive a desk. One of the letters had a runt, and he might be a little easier to handle than one of the larger hybrids. Don't worry, he's from a line that's bred for you. Don't worry, he's from a line that's bred for rich yuppies that want to train over. Don't worry, he's from a line that's bred from rich... Don't worry, he's from a line that's bred for ye... Don't worry, he's from a line that's bred for rich yuppies that want a trainable direwolf as a pet, or guard dog. They're fiercely loyal to whoever they pack bond to. Just remember what I taught you about training dogs, and you'll be fine. Treat him well. Godspeed. Strelokov. P.S. I think I'll be free before New Year's. Let's catch up and see a holo or something. There was more to the letter, but that was more of a private nature. Regardless, the crate was simple enough to open, and soon I found myself staring at face to face with a sleeping and very young warg/wolf hybrid with black and silver fur, barely old enough to be weaned, much less trained, as well as a reference guide for dog trading, just in case I'd forgot. End of story.
Yes, the Medusa's fighting back today.
Yes, the reflux has been weird. I think it's best to call it oversensitive. The reflux. Yes. Especially dire wolf puppos. You can use them as a mount, you can use them as a guard. Best seeing eye dog ever, you can just sit on it and it'll take you where you want to go. Nope, that's the wrong color. That color. Yeah. Apparently, when I was a kid, we had a pretty big dog. And I used to ride him around like a horse. Not all the time, but... 2758-1. Humans, mans, have the widest. The widest. Alright. Moving on to the next one. This stream is almost certainly not going to be long. Once I'm finished, I'm going to crawl under my bed and hide from the sun, or light, or sound. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration in the web series. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Humans Have the Widest Scale on the Aggression Index, written by Mono KS. Beginning recording. Right, okay, study log number 76 for the compilation to the Academy of Intergalactic Anthropology. Vexlon, my name is Dr. Flex. My name is Dr. Fret Zolon. I am a professor and researcher at Vexlon Anthropology Institute. The purpose of this recording is to provide new information and insight to any future listeners regarding the species of our galaxy. Today, it concerns about the humans. The humans as well, The humans, as we all know, are a newcomer to the Intergalactic Council. They were the latest to discover FTL travel, and as such, the Council welcomed them with open arms in the hopes of newfound cooperation. The humans are a strange bunch. They're a mid-sized species, able to handle mid-range temperatures, and had mid-level strength. I think the humans are not too remarkable, which makes them memorable ironically enough. Their biological build allows them to adapt to most planets, unlike the extremophiles on the other species. Unlike the extremophiles of the other species. They're a jack of all trades, as they would say. Right now, though, the topic is about their war culture. It took some debating, but the humans were designated into the warrior species catalog, which, as we know, is only reserved for the strongest, most aggressive species in the galaxy. It is strange, I admit, and even I had qualms of giving the humans this designation, but this recording will discuss exactly that. To anyone who may not know, especially the freshmen, various species of the galaxy are designated onto a scale. Number 1. No, that's true. And I had some sun yesterday. I walked past the window, and during the day. So I got at least 2, maybe 3 seconds of sunlight. Should be plenty. It onto a scale. How dare Various species of the galaxy are designated onto a scale, numbered 0 to 100. The aggression index is meant to determine the, aggression of a certain species. The infamous and now extinct Herlians scaled 90 to 95 on the scale. They didn't conquer half the galaxy for no reason after all. And the Vermiums, and the galaxy for no reason after all. And the Vermiums scaled 6 to 8 on the scale, which, as you know, is the reason why they made popular companions. The humans, well, I wasn't joking when I said that it took some time to assess where the humans were placed at. It's hard to explain. These humans, they have this concept called rules of war. When the Council heard of it, they found it amusing but sensible. But the fact that they specified prohibiting targeting of civilians, limiting unnecessary suffering, ensure that sick and wounded receive care, it made us think what led to humans even needing these rules in the first place. Such practices were unthinkable to even do. We did a deep dive into their history, and we deduced that the humans frequently get into war with each other. Such a thing would be considered animalistic in our standards. And yet, throughout the history of humans, they fought war after war. And the horrors that they inflict onto each other, it makes the spines on my back shiver. On what such... On what... Shiver. One such horror was a war they called World War II. This incident, called the... Not using that word. This incident called the Assault of Nanking, when the humans on an island called Japan invaded another nation called China, and, hell, the horrors that were described in that event, it was too much even by Hurlian standards. Getting infants, as if it's a game, it's just, I couldn't possibly imagine it. And worse still, it's not the last time humans cause such atrocities. As it turns out, in each war, many human soldiers tend to commit the worst crimes I could think of. There's just this, it's almost like well, they have this deep, dark urge to assault, pillage, and destroy whenever they can. Because outside of war, the humans act normal. Hell, not even during war do some humans commit atrocities. On their popular culture is a genre called true crime, and it details certain infamous criminals in their history, individuals such as Jack the Ripper or Ted Bundy. Humans watch these documentaries detailing their absolutely disgusting crimes of murder, and they enjoy it as if it was nothing. Yet, they work, they sleep, they mate like normal. To us, war is only necessary when it is to protect our planet. To the humans, they kill and genocide each other in the name of local superiority, despite being in the same planet, or even the same or even the same continental landmass. And their wars, their crimes, it's just gruesome. Yet, somehow, the humans are one of the most diplomatic and empathetic species in the galaxy as well. You see, I went on a visit to a certain city on Earth. A city called, what was it? Yes, Boston. This was after we had a quick study of their history. I was expecting a barbaric civilization where murder was the norm. And yet, when we went there, we see mothers caring for their children, elder humans taking care of pets, even strangers assisting each other. We thought maybe it was a false propaganda, but it was true. These humans are one of the most empathetic and sympathetic species in the galaxy. Whenever a natural disaster hits, hordes of humans would come together to help and rebuild. When a human dies, they congregate into funerals and comfort each other. They look out for each other, care for each other in so many ways that most species of the galaxy wouldn't. We mind our business. The humans help each other. They tenderly carry non-humanoid creatures as pets, talking to them as if they're babies. Families go on a tradition called holidays, where they enjoy each other's company. Human students assist each other in studying and bound together despite the academic environment which would be considered unnecessary. They have a social connection, a desire to bond and care for each other. They make beautiful artworks, create songs, dance their traditions, and keep up certain ethics and values in their nation-states. Yet, they also destroy, pillage, and even sometimes burn each other's cultures to the ground as a form of ethnic cleansing. It's just all so confusing. This species, they're so violent, filled with hatred and malice, and go as far as to massacre each other for trivial war goals. But they care for each other, help each other up, and even united to make a good impression on the rest of the galaxy. To make a good impression to the rest of the galaxy. But we know better. They're savages, and yet diplomatic. Their abilities to engage in the most heinous of war crimes puts them at a 92 on the scale, and yet their peaceful communities, culture, and joy also places them at 14 on the scale. Speaking out loud now, we have to reassess the humans' place on the scale once more. I suppose I'll give them more updates. It's quite funny. The humans are in the middle range when it comes to the strength and technology, And yet their physical... And yet their psychology seems to be the widest scale of the galaxy. Strange. End recording. Welcome back, huge dinosaur. As far as I understand, schizoids are a grouping of conditions, so schizophrenia would fall under there. There's several schizoid conditions, some of them wildly different from each other. Borderline personality disorder used to be called schizo something. Schizoaffective disorder. But I think they've moved that out into its own separate category. I went to trade school. They didn't teach us much about anything. So this is just random bits of information that's stuck in my head. Could be wrong, could be right, I don't know. That's not good, huge. Not good. Two 2758.2 2758-2 dash. What the hell is a computer virus? Virus. Why? That's stupid. That is just... I suppose maybe some people slinging it around as an insult, but, you know, it's still a medical condition. I don't know. No idea. I have no idea. Story number 2. What the hell is a computer virus? Written by Azazel Oram. Azazel Oram. Written by Azazel Oram. That sounds about right for 2025. Written by Azazel Oram. Send the message, Bridge Commander. Right away, ma'am. We've done it. We've found another civilization. This one looks even more backwards than the others we have conquered. And they're so gullible, too. They gave away everything but their culture and society. They don't even have artificial sun energy generators yet, and still use fossil fuels. Truly, this will be our easiest conquest yet. Ma'am, I have a message open. Ma'am, I have the message open. What do you want to send? Oh, just send the usual. We come to take over. We come to take you over. Don't even try to fight us, blah, blah, blah. We'll bombard you from orbit, blah, blah. We have energy shields, blah, blah. We're uplifters. You know, the usual junk. Yes, ma'am. Flight Commander, how long will it take to get there? Let's see. There seems to be a bit of a nebula problem, and considering the possibility of rogue asteroids, honestly, I'd say it'll take about 3 months. That's fast. Faster than our other conquest, at least. All right, let's get ready. Ma'am, I just got a message from the, humans. Do you want to read it? Oh, let's see it. I could use something funny today. Hell, they're probably surrendering right now. Or it could be another one of those begging for mercy types. Those are always fun. There's always fun with those. Huh, ma'am, I just got something weird. It seems like... ma'am, I got something weird. It seems to be a picture, but I don't know what I'm looking at. Put it up on the screen. The whole crew watches as the image appears on the display. I honestly don't know what it does. I honestly don't know what this is. Put it through the ship's AI. I'm ready. Shush, phone. I'm ready on it, ma'am. A couple seconds passed. Huh. That's weird. It should be instantaneous. Oh, here it goes. All right, it's Oh, gross. What is it? Spit it out. Ma'am, it seems to be a human male genitalia. Ugh. It's what I would expect from primitive species. It doesn't matter. We'll conquer them with... We'll conquer them and teach them manners afterwards. All right, everybody prepare. We'll be there in a couple of months. Yes, ma'am. Month 1. How's the course looking, Navigator? Everything's looking okay, Captain. Captain, we're receiving a feed from the human planet. Apparently they're fighting amongst themselves. They're even stupider than we thought. Someone bring me a nice cold beverage. I want to enjoy this. Yes, ma'am. Ah. Do you even think that we need to fight then? After all, they're doing the work for us. Well, we'd still need to wait and see, Captain. A species stupid enough to fight itself when an invader is coming is prone to even more idiocy. Ah. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of waiting, where is that beverage? Oh, sorry, ma'am. Something is wrong with the food synthesizer. It synthesized some waste product instead. What is this? Some sort of joke? Ugh. We just had it looked at. See if you can get that fixed. Yes, ma'am. Month 2. Captain, it looks like the humans have stopped their war. It seems they're united under one flag. Well, that is surprising, but it doesn't matter. In fact, it'll make it all the easier to conquer. I'm going to take a bath. I'm sorry, Captain, but it looks like there's something wrong with the water. It's shifting between hot and cold randomly, and sometimes there was waste product in the water. The technicians are already trying to repair it. Oof. Are you kidding me? First the food synthesizers and now this. Alert me when it's working. I'm heading to my quarters. Yes, ma'am. Month 3. We've arrived at the planet. Somebody contact the captain. I'm here. Oh, stupid dolls. I thought I told the technicians to fix this already. Sorry, Captain. They were still trying to keep the food and water synthesizers operational. Whatever. What's going on with the planet? It seems, Captain, that they've managed to harness artificial sun energy and greatly improve and expand their infrastructure. They even have some artificial life forms, though I'm not detecting any planetary weapons or shields. How did they manage that? Well, that's no matter. Contact the humans, see if they've wised up, or if we need to put them in their place. Honor, Captain. Contact has gone through. That's weird. It only went to one place, and it seems to be a direct call. Should have put it on the screen, Captain. What the... Fine, put it through. When we get back to the Empire, I swear we need to get the ship fixed. The face of a human appears on the main screen. Yeah, that was a funny one, Postmatic. And there was a story where it was like the inverse law that if there is a weapon, there will be a penis drawn on it at some point. Even if there are no humans, it'll just appear like magic. Main screen. Greetings, human. I trust your species has already received your message. So, what will it be? Do you submit, or do we have to blow up some of your infrastructure? Finally you arrive. I was waiting for you idiots to come. Tell me, how were your facilities? How were your facilities? I'm getting enraged at this human. I don't think you know your place. Weapons expert. Aim for their smaller, more populated landmass. Make an example out of it. Yes, ma'am. I waited for the human face to show some sign of worry, distress, or begging. Instead, all I could see was amusement. Ma'am, something's wrong. I can't access the weapons at all. What? Try getting them back online. We don't know what the humans have up their sleeve. At that point, the human let out a deep, mocking laugh. Oh man, the fact that you didn't even notice is just hilarious. Oh man, tell me, did you get any news from home? Or better yet, try asking your computer for something, anything. A deep knot formed in my stomach. Ship, pull up news from our homeworld now. I'm sorry, Captain. I'm afraid I can't do that. What? What the hell is going on? Ship, follow my command. Access denied. AI, allow them access to the news feed of their homeworld. Affirmative, my glorious king. On the screen, news of the homeworld appears. Anyone standing fell to their knees. The High Emperor was dead. The robotic guards held his head on a spike, and the once glorious flag, now cast into the mud and replaced with the familiar emblem. The same flag the humans bore on their world. What the hell's going on? I guess I'll explain it. Do you remember that lovely image we sent you? Well, you see, inside that image was a computer virus. What the hell is a computer virus? Man, I'm surprised that an advanced species like you didn't know what a computer virus is. It's basically code forcefully injected into a device that takes control of it or sends instructions to destroy it. Now, like I was saying, that image contained a computer virus. We were attempting to probe your weaknesses, to get schematics of your ships or at least know when you would arrive. But we got something even better. Apparently your AI absorbed that computer virus and was put under our control. From there, the manufacturing of a robotic army on your planet was effortless, allowing us to overthrow your emperor. And here on Earth, a bunch of old people tried to be as sole contributors. A bunch of old people tried to be the sole controllers of this new world. So we fought amongst ourselves. But while those old idiots were busy fighting, I'd seized the AI and had it build a robotic army on Earth. Long story short, I rule the world, and yours too. Impossible. Weapons Command, try something. Anything. Weapons Command, try doing something. Anything. The Weapons Commander couldn't only respond. The Weapons Commander could only respond dejectedly. No use, Captain. The ship won't listen. Come now, stop doing such idiotic things and listen to what I have to say. I slumped in my chair, defeated. Well, what will you make of us? Oh, I'll simply dismantle your idiotic conquest mentally and nudge you towards something more creative, like stories or something. Anyways, welcome to the beginning of the Galactic Terran Empire. End of story. Alrighty. I think that's going to be me. As you probably noticed, my concentration is up to shit. Mainly because of, headache and migraine and stuff. But we managed to do 3 stories. That was 10,000 words. It's not too bad. A bit over an hour's worth of content. Yeah, I'm going to go crawl under my bed and hide. Maybe do some whimpering. That seems to help sometimes. And I'll see you on Sunday. Won't be streaming tomorrow. But I will be back on Sunday. Hopefully, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Or as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as I can manage. I hope you all have a great one. Thank you for spending your time.